On an evening in July 356 BC, the Mediterranean world was still immersed in the ancient rhythm of city-state hegemony. Athenian philosophers debated the ideal state in the academy, and Spartan warriors sweated on the training ground. However, in the palace of Pella, in the distant Macedonian kingdom, the cry of a baby was about to rewrite the history of the entire world.
This baby was Alexander the Great, the legendary monarch who later conquered 3 continents, from Greece to the Indus River. But at this moment, he was just the first son of King Philip II of Macedonia and Queen Olympias.
When the baby opened his eyes, the legend goes that lightning streaked across the sky, as if the gods were blessing the future conqueror. And in the Temple of Delphi, the oracle of the priestess predicted the arrival of a new era.
The birth of this child marked the beginning of the most glorious and turbulent era in the classical world. No one could have predicted that this prince, born on the border of Macedonia, would create the largest empire in human history in just 33 years.
To understand Alexander's legend, we must first understand the land where he grew up, the Kingdom of Macedonia. In the 4th century BC, Macedonia was regarded as a semi-barbaric frontier kingdom by the Greek city-states in the south.
The people here spoke Greek with a dialect accent and maintained more primitive tribal traditions. The Athenians ridiculed the Macedonians as barbarians in Greek clothes, while the Spartans believed that they lacked true Greek blood.
However, it was in this despised land that an outstanding monarch was quietly changing the course of history. When Alexander's father, Philip II, ascended the throne in 359 BC, Macedonia was still a fragmented and frequently invaded weak kingdom.
Philip II was a visionary ruler. When he was young, he was sent to Thebes as a hostage, where he learned the most advanced military tactics and political wisdom in Greece. After returning to Macedonia, he began a series of bold reforms. The most revolutionary innovation was the invention of the Macedonian phalanx. Unlike the short swords and round shields used by traditional Greek heavy infantry, Philip II equipped his soldiers with 6-meter-long sarissa spears. When thousands of spears moved forward at the same time, they formed a deadly steel forest. On both wings of the phalanx, Philip II equipped the highly mobile Macedonian heavy cavalry. These noble knights were equipped with the best armor and weapons and became the decisive force on the battlefield. Through these military innovations, Philip II began his journey to unify Greece. One city after another succumbed to Macedonian military might. The Battle of Chaeronea in 338 BC completely established Macedonia's hegemony over the Greek world. Philip II was not only a military genius, but also a far-sighted politician. Instead of simply conquering the Greek city-states, he established the League of Corinth, allowing the Greek city-states to maintain relative autonomy under the leadership of Macedonia.
Little Alexander grew up in such an environment full of ambition and change. From a very young age, he showed extraordinary talents and character traits.
According to historical records, Alexander was extremely intelligent and had an amazing learning ability since he was a child. He was able to quickly master all kinds of knowledge, whether it was language, mathematics, or military tactics. But more importantly, he showed a natural leadership and desire to conquer. When Alexander was 7 years old, something happened that changed his life.
He met the war horse Bucephalus, who later accompanied him to conquer the world. The horse was originally a tribute to Philip II and was worth 13 talents, which was equivalent to decades of salary for an ordinary soldier. However, the horse was extremely violent and no one could tame it. Horse dealers tried various methods, but Bucephalus always kicked or bit people who tried to approach it. Seeing that this expensive deal was about to fall through, Philip II prepared to have the disobedient horse taken away. At this moment, Alexander, who was only 7 years old, stepped up. He carefully observed the horse's behavior and discovered a detail that none of the adults noticed. The horse was afraid of its own shadow. Alexander walked over to Bucephalus, whispered soothing words to him, and then turned the horse's head toward the sun so that the horse could not see its shadow. Miraculously, Bucephalus immediately calmed down and allowed the little boy to stroke his nose and neck. Then, as everyone watched in shock, Alexander easily jumped onto the horse. Bucephalus not only did not resist, but seemed to accept this young master.
Philip II saw this scene and shed tears of pride. He said to his son, "My son, you must find a kingdom worthy of you, because Macedonia is too small for you." These prophetic words seem to foreshadow Alexander's future grand destiny of conquering the world. When Alexander was 13 years old, Philip II found the greatest mentor of the time, Aristotle, for his son. This student of Plato and future teacher of all learning would shape the prince's thoughts and character in the next 3 years. Aristotle's arrival was not accidental. Philip II knew that to rule a huge empire, it was not enough to rely on force alone, but also wisdom and culture. He hoped that his son would not only be a great military general, but also a well-educated ruler. Philip II established an academy specifically for Aristotle and Alexander in Mysia, Macedonia. Far away from the political turmoil of the royal palace, the environment is beautiful and peaceful, making it an ideal place for learning and thinking. At the Mysia Academy, Aristotle developed a comprehensive educational program for Alexander. The courses included philosophy, politics, ethics, medicine, geometry, and rhetoric. Aristotle particularly emphasized the importance of practical wisdom and taught Alexander how to apply theoretical knowledge to actual governance. Most importantly, Aristotle taught Alexander the Iliad. This Homer epic poem had a profound influence on Alexander, and the hero Achilles in it became his idol throughout his life. Alexander learned from Achilles about courage, honor, and the pursuit of immoral fame. In addition to literature, Aristotle also taught Alexander natural science. Together, they studied plants and animals, observed astronomical phenomena, and conducted various experiments. This scientific spirit was later reflected in Alexander's conquests. He was not only a conqueror, but also an explorer and a disseminator of knowledge. Aristotle also introduced Alexander to Greek political theory, especially the advantages and disadvantages of the city-state system. This knowledge later helped Alexander better understand and manage different political systems after conquering various places. Under Aristotle's teachings, Alexander not only acquired extensive knowledge, but more importantly, formed a unique worldview. He learned to think about problems rationally, and at the same time cultivated curiosity and tolerance for different cultures. As he grew older, Alexander began to participate in practical government affairs and military activities. Philip II consciously let his son participate in various important decisions to cultivate his actual ruling ability.
In 340 BC, when Alexander was 16 years old, Philip II left Macedonia to attack Byzantium and handed over domestic affairs to his son. This was a major test of Alexander's ability and the real beginning of his political career.
Shortly after Philip II left, the Thracian tribe of the Medes in northern Macedonia launched a rebellion. This brought the first real challenge to the young regent Alexander. Faced with this crisis, Alexander did not panic, but quickly organized an army to prepare to quell the rebellion.
Alexander personally led the Macedonian army northward. This was his first time to independently command a large-scale military operation. During the march, he demonstrated his extraordinary military talent, not only being able to inspire the morale of the soldiers, but also being able to formulate ingenious strategies and tactics.
In the battle with the Medes, Alexander used the tactics taught by his father, but also added his own innovations. He took advantage of the terrain and set up clever ambushes, ultimately defeating the rebels.
After the battle, Alexander not only put down the rebellion, but also built a new city in the original Medina settlement named Alexandria. This was the first of many cities named after him that he built during his lifetime. Alexander was not alone in his studies at Mysa Academy. Philip II carefully selected a group of Macedonian nobles to be educated with the prince, and these people later became important partners of Alexander in conquering the world. This collective education method not only cultivated their knowledge, but also established an unbreakable bond of friendship.
The most important of these was Hephaestion, a young man from an old Macedonian noble family. He was about the same age as Alexander, intelligent and handsome, with a gentle but firm character. The two men quickly established a deep friendship that would last until the end of their lives.
Alexander and Hephaestion are often compared to Achilles and Patroclus in the Iliad, two comrades who shared life and death. They were inseparable in the academy, studying together, training together, and discussing grand plans for future world conquest together.
In addition to Hephaestion, there are other important classmates. Cassander, a complex but extremely intelligent teenager, whose father Antipater was the most trusted general of Philip II. Cassander was extremely intelligent, but there was a hint of gloom in his character, which foreshadowed his complicated future fate. There is also Ptolemy, a clever young man said to be the illegitimate son of Philip II. He was a man of many talents, especially good at mathematics and astronomy, and later became the founder of the Ptolemaic dynasty in Egypt.
Seleucus was a brave and loyal young man, tall and generous. He performed well in military training and was respected by his companions. Later, he established the vast Seleucid Empire, ruling a vast territory from Syria to India.
These friendships continued to grow during their years at Mysa Academy, as they studied philosophy and science together under Aristotle, sweated on the training ground together, and discussed grand plans to change the world together around the campfire at night. These friendships, established in youth, would become an important foundation for Alexander's conquests of the empire. These men would not only be his loyal comrades in arms, but also his right-hand men in governing his vast empire. Their shared education and deep personal affection would provide a solid talent base for future conquests. However, these friendships would also plant the seeds of future conflict. As Alexander's power grew and his conquests expanded, these former friends would face difficult choices between loyalty and ambition, friendship and power. Time flies, and in a blink of an eye, Alexander is already 18 years old. Under Aristotle's careful teaching, he not only mastered a wealth of knowledge, but more importantly, formed his own unique personality and worldview. He has both the rationality and elegance of Greek culture, and the bravery and ambition of the Macedonians. In 340 BC, when Alexander finished his studies at Mysae and prepared to return to Pella, Aristotle gave his final evaluation of his student. Of all my students, only Alexander truly understood what greatness is. He not only has the ability to conquer the world, but more importantly, he has the ideal of changing the world. When Alexander left the academy, he was no longer the brave little boy who tamed horses at the age of 7, but a young man who had all the qualities needed to rule the world. He had profound knowledge, outstanding military talent, firm will, and most importantly, the ambition to conquer the world. Alexander returned to the palace of Pella and found that his father, Philip II's conquest, was reaching a new peak. The Macedonian army had won a series of victories across Greece, and Philip II was preparing a more ambitious plan to conquer the Persian Empire. Alexander knew that his real test was coming. Although he had shown his prowess in suppressing the rebellion of the Medians, a greater challenge was waiting for him. The Persian Empire was the most powerful empire in the world at that time, with millions of people and countless wealth. Conquering it required not only courage, but also wisdom, strategy, and unswerving determination. When the night was still, Alexander often thought of Aristotle's teachings and the choice of Achilles in the Iliad, either live an ordinary life or die a glorious death but gain eternal honor. For Alexander, the choice was always clear. The wheel of history is turning faster and faster, and an era belonging to Alexander is about to come. This boy born in the palace of Pella, this brave boy who tamed Bucephalus, this prince studying in the Mysa Academy, is about to become a great conqueror who will change the course of world history. But the god of destiny did not seem ready to let this young man immediately step onto the stage of history. In the next few years, Alexander would continue to learn and grow under the shadow of his father, waiting for his own moment to come. In the Far East, the ancient Persian Empire was still immersed in its past glory, unaware that an unprecedented storm was brewing in the mountains of northern Greece. Darius III sat on the throne of Persepolis, enjoying the prosperity of the empire, completely unaware of the challenges his empire was about to face. The wheel of history is turning, and the two completely different worlds of the East and the West are about to collide violently. On one side is the young and vibrant Macedonia, which, under the leadership of Philip II and Alexander the Great, is preparing to expand outward. On the other side is the ancient and wealthy Persian Empire, which is powerful but already showing signs of fatigue. This is where our story begins, the legend of a northern prince's growth, from the crying baby in the palace of Pella to the young hero taming the divine horse Bucephalus, from the years of studying at the Mysa Academy to the emerging military commander. Alexander has shown all the qualities needed to become a great conqueror. But this is just the prologue of a much bigger story. In the following episodes,
we will see how Alexander grew from a Macedonian prince to the ruler of the world, how he built a vast empire spanning 3 continents in just 13 years, and how he mysteriously left the world at the prime age of 32, leaving behind an eternal legend.
Please stay tuned for the next episode, The Road to Kingship, where we will witness how Alexander was appointed after his father was assassinated, how he quelled the Greek rebellion, and how he embarked on the long journey of conquering the Persian Empire. A legendary era belonging to Alexander the Great is about to begin.